What does it even mean? We are living people.
Okay, I updated it.
Okay. All
I don't know what
right.
I'm going with this voice, but let's see what we can do.
Are you ready?
Yeah, and I don't have spooky music
Oh.
now. You're just gonna have
No,
to.
I know. Oh, I know.
Just gonna have to run with it.
You're
Okay.
just gonna have to imagine that it's spooky.
I'll make my own spooky music.
Okay. Okay, let's try it.
Don't touch your cord.
Dark clouds loom in the distance. As an unspoken evil gathers, two heroes find themselves called once more to defend the realm from the forces of darkness. A crack of lightning illuminates the stormy sky, and somewhere, just behind the clouds, a hulking silhouette, the size of a mountain, stirs and begins to rise. Early raindrops start to pelt the dusty ground as the two battle-worn men sharpen their blades and ready their shields. It's time to go to work. You've just logged into the 3-Bit Gamer Show. Welcome to the 3-Bit Gamer Show. I'm JD.
This is Peterson.
And you're lucky you got that because Peterson is just fucking around, making noises, coughing, shitting, farting his pants.
You're the consummate professional. I tried to break
with
JD
What is
during
wrong
that
with
intro
you?
because I can just edit myself out later.
Yeah,
and
no,
he
you
didn't
can.
break. I would have broken immediately. If I was reading a monologue and JD made a single sound, I would have lost
noise. Caw, caw.
it. Yeah.
You can leave that one in. It's pretty good.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Live from the 3-Bit Gamer Show. The news. Okie dokie. News this week brought to us by Crave-tacular Cookies. Crave
Gotcha.
is this cookie shop here in Utah, but also in Florida and a handful of other states now. So check it out at cravecookies.com and see if there's a Crave Cookies near you. But while you do that, while you wait, you're going to land on the website and you're going to find that they have cookies this week, a cookie of the week for this week. And you're going to be like, wow, those look like some good cookies. Well, let me tell you, I'm going to blow your mind because I will predict the future now.
Okay.
I will tell you what cookies are coming next week. Yeah. So
What do
if
we
you're
got?
listening and you're just on the website right now and you're like, what the hell? Why are these cookies different? This is because this is coming to you from the cookie future, friends.
We had a time machine. Okay. This is the scenario. All we do with the time machine is go forward about 5 days and check Crave's menu and come back and report. That's it.
Yeah.
I think it's a responsible use of a time machine. So
it's like that TV show back in the day. What was it called? Early Edition. Guy gets tomorrow's newspaper every morning delivered to him by like a mysterious cat. And then he like has to go save someone's life that's going to like die the next day. And I'm like, does he never flip to like the world events page? And he's like, terrorist bombing in fucking Baghdad. Like maybe I should call the CIA and be like, dude, heads up.
Nope. Gonna go save Mark.
He's gonna go tackle Mark from getting hit by a bus because Mark's an orphan and he's had a rough go at it. What lesson are we learning there?
No lesson.
That's what we're doing with the cookie thing, dude.
Yeah.
Like we have a legit ass fucking time bending time travel device. And this is what we're going to use it for. So first up from our time traveling cookie future is, let's see, this one is June 2nd to the 8th. So this is next week. They've got the stuffed cookies and cream, the Scotcha Rookie, woot woot,
That's
rookie,
genius.
the Snickerdoodle Toast Crunch, and the banana cream pie. I know there's some of you freaks out there that really get off on the banana cream pie. So,
Oh, I know for a fact there are people who love it. I don't like bananas, but
I don't like
people are
anything going
obsessed
on
with
in that cookie or that like dessert at all. But more power to you. Get that potassium. Anyway, get down to Crave Cookies. Put your early edition paper in your back pocket. Get down to Crave Cookies and get your cookie on.
Gross. Get that cookie on.
Get your cookie in. Put the cookie in.
It's getting worse and worse. Shove that cookie in.
Put it in your cookie. A board game exec made some sexist comments about women in board games. This is a headline brought to you by Peterson.
Yeah.
Just putting it on the deck early, and JD missed it.
I thought about adding the word
update
board
it.
games one more time in there, but then I got lazy because we were talking about something else.
Yeah, that's
I should have
the
done it
story of Peterson Productions. I was going to do it, then I got lazy.
That is 100% it. So what happens is this lady, Elizabeth Hargrave, she does like a series of tweets showing some of the stats for the Game of the Year, Spiel des Jahres nominations, Game of the Year nominations, and like by year and by gender. And there's almost no women, right?
Yeah.
Last 2 years, there have been no women. So she's doing this big, long thread about that. That's it. She makes a little bit of a point.
Did she blame the women, though?
Nope. She was just
someone
saying,
needed to do that, though. So someone was missing because nobody was blaming the women for this.
So let's see. A guy named Ryan Dancy, he jumped in and he said what he was thinking.
None of us were fucking thinking.
We were, yeah. He jumped in. Now, he said what a select few people obviously were thinking, but not the normal people.
Right.
Ryan Dancy, the COO of Alderac, they're a game company, comes in. He makes a very long response. I mean, I don't know if you saw this, but it's like
the worst thing about Elon Musk is he made tweets longer.
This wasn't like a quick tweet, hit reply, and then moved on with his day. This dude spent an hour and a half writing this out for sure.
Dude, that's what COOs do, man. They fucking long tweet.
Yeah, he wrote it out
hard for those extra digits.
Sat back, read over it again, and was like,
ran it by absolutely fucking nobody.
Nobody,
including the legal department, PR or HR. He just did it.
Yep. It should be, just quick aside, this should be part of corporate culture where if you become an executive,
shut the fuck up.
You don't do a single thing without running it by your communications director.
Shut the fuck up.
You don't say a single thing.
Way too much to open your mouth.
Look, you're on call 24/7. Should be the same thing with your opinion. Your opinion should be only made public if it is approved by.
Listen, asshole, you guys made it. Like, you have an ungodly amount of money. You won. You're like on top of the top.
You won capitalism. That's what it is.
You won capitalism. So just sit back and shut the fuck up. Like, can you not just enjoy it? The rest of us would enjoy it if we just found $10 on the street. We'd be like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna ride this.
Made my day. Dude, I'm gonna talk about this for a week.
But you guys are just on the gravy train and you just can't shut the fuck up. This guy.
So he comes in and essentially blames the women. He's like, okay, well, here's some stats. Honestly, the first part of it starts off moderately reasonable. Although he keeps saying females.
Play it.
It's a female.
Dude, you say female instead of woman. I'm not talking. He's not saying female game developer. He's talking these females pitched me. Dude, you are a fucking Ferengi from Star Trek. Dude, that's who says female instead of woman or person.
His second sentence.
Read it. Yeah, read this.
I would say that less than 10% of those were from female designers.
No,
We
you
don't-
can
you
say
don't-
female designer, but he like legit says in different parts he's like calling women, just straight up calling them
Why
female.
wouldn't he just say women designers though? Like that sounds better for me.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so excuse me. He goes on. He starts off honestly like moderately. He was like okay, right? If he would have cut it off after like 2 paragraphs, no one would have said anything. I bet he keeps going. He's got to. He
Dude,
says,
listen to this.
"Go ahead."
I've never been pitched a war game by a female. I've never been pitched a 2-player fighting game by a female. I've never been pitched a giant fighting robots game by a female. Play it again.
I don't know. I was just about to.
It's a female!
This fucking Giga Turbo Virgin guy. Who writes like that? Who fucking thinks like that? In those oh, it's such a weird thing.
So here's the thing, though.
This
He
guy was fucking
actually,
animal.
he actually has thought about this before, and I'm convinced he didn't just like was making this point. I think he's had this conversation before. Because he's like, we've only been pitched.
He has ranted this conversation at his subordinates who can't reply like they'd want to. Let's just say that.
Say because he did say, yeah, we did a call for submissions from female designers specifically. We got one publishable design, and it's Mariposas. I actually own that game. And so he does that. He does that paragraph, and then he goes into this conjecture paragraph where he's just like making assumptions, like making stuff up. And he says, females are socialized in the West to avoid situations where they're subjected to fairly harsh criticism of their abilities and creative ideas. Males are socialized to take the punches and keep moving forward, bro.
Play it. Play it. God damn it.
It's a female!
What a weird dirtbag thing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, nobody likes this, right? He does this response. Nobody's into this. It's not like people are like, yeah, liking his tweet and like, no, everyone's like, dude, you're a dirtbag. What are you talking about? This is horrible. And so then immediately he deletes his stuff and he puts an apology asking them, oh, I don't know, I just was dumb, and the typical apology, but you should hold me accountable for my things. It's like, I don't know, this guy's an idiot. Why do we have no filter on our CEOs and COOs and none of these guys with a voice? Why don't they have any filter?
Dude, I honestly think, like, joking aside, it's because they don't have anyone telling them no or that things are a bad idea anymore. Everyone, when that many people are kissing your ass as a
They get a bunch
COO,
of yes men.
dude, everyone around you is a yes man just by default, because that's like they're telling you what they want, what you want to hear, because that's what's good for their job. At a certain level of executive, you got to go down 3 levels before you're out of executive.
Yeah.
And you're into like a normal fucking person. So everyone in the executive thing is they're all just trying to climb the ladder. They're all sniffing the ass above them. At a certain point, like, you lose touch with fucking reality. And then you're like, dude, I'm going to go to Twitter and tell everyone the thing that I told Steve in the break room, who was pinned in the fucking corner and couldn't leave, even though his bag of Fritos was long empty.
He kept wrinkling it,
He's
slowly
like
sidestepping away.
And doing that. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Oh, man. Oh, man. And the CEO is like, and another thing, because you just railed a fucking line in your office, and you got some ideas. Sure,
And
that
you
costs
can't hold
that,
them in.
that line costs as much as you pay most of your employees over the course of like a day or a week. I don't know.
He doesn't think in terms of money.
Yeah.
He thinks in terms of how to keep the workers down.
What was this guy's name again? Who is our Ferengi?
Oh, the Ferengi is Ryan Dancy.
Ryan Dancy, congratulations. I'm sorry that females are so scary to you. Lord of the Rings, Golems, developers have apologized for their game. And Peterson is so happy. This is a mess. Like, we fucking did a whole segment last week about how this game was going to be a fucking mess.
It's
So it's not,
so bad, you guys.
this is no surprise. I don't relish this one, honestly. These guys are like nobodies. It's called Daedalic Entertainment. And they've honestly looks like they've done a lot of point and click graphic novel type games. Like, doesn't super seem in their wheelhouse. And they genuinely sound sorry in this apology. And I just feel like, I don't know if you guys have anything to apologize other than your executives saddling you with a license and an idea that you just couldn't execute. Like, that's what this feels like. They went to, I don't know, I doubt that this came from Embracer, whoever was holding the Lord of the Rings license 5 years ago. And they were like, hey, we want to make a game with Lord of the Rings license. How can we make that work? And they're like, well, you can't do any primo stuff because you guys aren't like a AAA studio, but maybe you could do like a Gollum game. And some executive was like, fucking done, stamped it. And then he goes back to the studio and they're like, what game?
Yeah. No, Gollum, the little guy.
The last 2 games we made were point and click graphic novel games.
They
He's
do
like,
have a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. A stealth
Nothing
game is
like
not
this.
easy. That's like expert level in terms of the AI.
Yes, exactly. So you have to make a stealth game even kind of interesting.
That should be in your lineage. Your studio should have made 5 Splinter Cell games if they're gonna make a fucking Gollum game. But these guys are not that, and this game is bad.
So yeah, here's the thing. This game, it is a bummer, like JD said, but also because this could have been interesting. You make this a $30 game and it's 7 hours long. This could be a very fun game, and you're just like, seeing like all the different stuff behind the scenes of like what was happening in Lord of the Rings at the time. But no, this is a $60 game, $70 if you want the primo voice acting, and I mean, so many things wrong with it. You could just make a list, but it first looks terrible. It does not.
Then Gollum looked in, what was it, 2014 Shadow of Mordor or whatever. The Gollum that, which was 9 years ago, looks better than this one by like a significant margin.
I watched just a little clip of some guy playing the game, and somebody was reacting to it, but he goes to the edge of like, he's down in like some orc mine type of thing and looks down, and there's a bunch of like big orcs walking on a bridge. And I kid you not, it's like Warcraft 2 graphics. Like their legs are like me. It looks like it looks like an animated it just looks like a little animated like cursor that you could just dragging along. It's so bad, and they are laughing. No, this is gameplay, but they're just like looking down and seeing this happen. Like the background looks bad, the cutscenes look horrible. You can find a side-by-side comparison of what they showed in like the game preview or like the promotional material,
sure,
and what it actually looks like, and it's like looking at, I don't know, PS2 graphics versus
it looks like 10 years before the Shadow of War games, like a 2004 game, not 10 years after those games. But I mean, they shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't have gone for realistic, hyper realistic. They should have done low poly,
cartoony. They should have done cartoony,
or done a fucking point and click adventure Gollum game. I'll take that, dude.
Honestly, that could also be fun.
Could have been cheaper and more accessible to people.
Like you said, stealth games have to be so good to be
hard.
Any good.
Yeah.
And not only that, but apparently the game's super buggy. Even to the point
planking Gollum thing.
No.
It's like I see like there's someone crossing a bridge. I think it's like one of your buddies, maybe. I don't know. But Gollum ends up planking 6 inches off of the ground, floating in the air, like completely out, like Superman style. And this guy's just like pushing you along the bridge and just like kind of clipping through, kind of clipping you. And I think it may have been a bad guy. I don't know, dude. It just looks, there's buggy, and then there's like pushing out a game that was in an early build state, and the QA was like, you're not really going to put this game out. This game won't be ready for 12 months, let alone like you're going to put it out now. Like you will be completely roasted and lambasted online for eternity. And they just fucking did it.
They just did it. This game should not have been released. 100%. Everyone's already saying this is the worst game of the year, and we still have half of the year left.
Half of the year, and I can say confidently that I don't think anything else is going to get close to this. This one
it honestly has saved a couple other games that have been released with buggy. Like they had The Last of Us Part 2, the PC release was terrible. What was the other one that was just...
There was another PC release that was just broken as fuck.
Yeah. So what was it? I can't even remember now because all I can think of is Lord of the Rings Gollum.
All you can think about is this, dude. There's some special sauce, some special magic about licensed games. They have to go out. They have to get pushed. And generally, these are games that are designed from the top down. That is the executives sitting in luncheons at business conferences making the decision to make these games. That was how they came around with Marvel Avengers. And that's exactly how they came around to this game. It's just like, dude, let's get a license and let's just grind a studio into making the game. It'll make us $1 million. And when you have a studio that's way misaligned, like with Marvel Avengers, that isn't really equipped to make that type of game, the game comes out regardless. Oh, the game's going to fucking come out. But those are the games that won't get delayed, and they'll get pushed when they're not in a state to get released, and then they just die on the vine. So this should be a warning sign to any studio that gets turned on by licenses. Any executive, any gaming studio exec that's like, dude, a license, and they get stars in their eyes.
And they keep getting licenses and making games they've never made before. Have you noticed that? That's
what I was talking about with Marvel Avengers. Like,
yeah.
They just didn't know the studio wasn't equipped to make a game like that.
To just reskin something you've already done.
They have to put it out.
So stupid.
So this is just another one going on the licensed game pile.
And real quick, just an adjacent story, because we know one of our favorite companies, Embracer Group, has purchased the license or whatever, purchased the IP for Lord of the Rings.
They own it, yeah.
And we got to do a mea culpa here, because it was probably 2 weeks ago we were just kind of pissed about, I wanted to buy Embracer stock. And Embracer stock this week.
Dude, the story is on our... Why are you doing this? What are you doing?
Oh, it's on there?
You fucking serious?
Oh, no,
whole story.
I didn't see that it was on there.
Randomly just starting another story. Roll the clip. Blizzard wants to replace game designers with AI.
This one's awful. This is awful. Did you read this at all?
Of course I read this.
They're doing concept art. What they want is they're doing concept art for skins and stuff like that to be done by AI partially, which is, I mean, you're killing a whole department, right? And we knew AI would kill stuff, but you should not be using AI for art. I just don't think you use it for art, because I think there's no creativity behind it. There's no originality behind it. They're going to get in all sorts of legal trouble because AI is just going to copy something that it's kind of seen somewhere else, which I guess artists do that too. We've had several plagiarism stories, but yeah, get your AI to get your concept artists out of there, and we can have Chat GPT do it for you.
Yeah, this came from a New York Times article. It was centering around an email that came from Blizzard's chief design officer, Alan Adam. He was telling employees about Blizzard Diffusion, which is their in-house AI generator that you can turn text into art. So you just tell it what to make, and it draws from Blizzard's vast library of art to create whatever you need for whatever concept or whatever crap. So basically like Danny's job, just like they replace it with a line of text. And what stood out to me is this was the New York Times, so of course it's like center right leaning and very conservative. And the take was very generous toward these brilliant business geniuses who are just looking out for the little creatives. But one thing I did notice about this article is they didn't talk to a single soul actual creative. They talked to the executives. They talked to the studio heads. They talked to this guy, the chief design officer, Alan. These are the people that are way into it. Because why? Well,
Save them a ton of money.
They get a cut fucking budget, dude. They get a slash budget, get bonuses, and get out. So they can get off to another job where they can just send out stupid fucking tweets and not shut their fucking mouth.
They don't. Here's the thing: the business guys just cannot pull their heads out. They can't understand what makes money and we've seen it 3 times in the last 2 years, this year and last year, of games making just $1 billion because they came out and they're fantastic because they've got heart and soul in them. Right?
No.
Can you imagine if they had AI designing Hogwarts or even aspects of it? It kills games, and that is part of it. You play a game and you can tell if the game has a soul or not. And I know that sounds dumb and artsy, but if you're not have someone passionate behind it, it feels that way, and the game's gonna tank. It's gonna tank unless it's that sort of game from the get-go, like a mobile game. Nobody cares on mobile games. That's not a thing. But you want to play a big $60 AAA game and it just feels generic, it's not gonna make any money.
And I really don't trust anyone that's looking to cut down the time it takes to do concept art. Because at that point, you just want art for your PowerPoints.
Yeah, I don't feel like that's the big time suck.
Yeah, no, to investors. No, it is. It is if your only goal is pitching new games so you can have that cool new thing on your resume, the Google model of what's new, what have you done for me lately? This fits perfectly with that because you can just move on to the next thing. Oh, they didn't like my Anthem pitch. Well, I didn't have 5 concept artists spend a month developing some like really cool boards and thought out worlds. I just like got on Chat GPT, spent 5 minutes. I copied and pasted it in a PowerPoint because that is the highest level of software that I, as a business executive, am comfortable using. And then I just rolled with it. That's these people. That's why they're cutting out the concept art. That's why they're looking at this first. Once they figure out how to cut out the next artist, the next creative, they'll do the same fucking thing and tell them how much time they're saving them as they hand them a fucking empty cardboard box and tell them to clean out their desk.
Yeah. I can't wait till all of our games are voice acted by that TikTok voice. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't want to.
Watch as 3 monkeys try to hump this coconut.
Grand Theft Auto 6. I'm really excited. AI is going to write all the dialogue and voice act it all. And you just put a drill in your fucking temple and just call it good.
Okay, what they should do, though, someone absolutely should do, is have a singular character where it is purposefully all of the dialogue is written by AI, so it is purposefully ridiculous. That's what you should do. So, yeah, you absolutely know that this
crazy
is
person. It's the only way it would work. A mysterious $2 billion deal that nobody knows anything about fell through, and now Embracer Group shareholders are signaling the apocalypse. It's all over. 40%. So this is a, quote, transformative partnership that was being negotiated for months between Embracer Group and ... we don't know.
It's unknown. TBD.
And it fell through, even though it was supposed to go well, and all the signs were pointing to it. The Embracer CEO, Lars Wingfold, he told investors, he was talking about this after it fell through. He said, all documentation was finalized, ready to go as of yesterday. We asked for the execution of the agreement for a Q4 announcement. And then late last night, we received a negative outcome from the counterparty. And their stock on this news, their stock plunged more than 40%. 40%. You can go look at the ticker now. It is not bouncing back. Like that drop was like it looks like one of those correction drops where you're like, oh, that's just where it is now. That's the new fucking bottom. That's the price. So this was really weird. They had a verbal commitment, apparently, from this company, and that was enough that they felt really confident. This is supposed to be like a multi-year, multi-billion dollar development deal. I don't know if it necessarily involved the studios that Embracer owns, possibly some of the licenses they own, but they don't have developers for. Maybe this other party was going to develop some of those games and pay them for those licenses. The things that I have seen digging in the rumor mill, which is not very useful, was Amazon, Microsoft, and Ubisoft as potential partners. Ubisoft is one that jumped out to me as a likely party that would do the pulling shit out the last fucking minute. That seemed in likelihood Ubisoft, then Amazon, and then Microsoft. Microsoft seems like they're such a juggernaut. If this deal was going to happen, it's going to happen. The only thing I could think of is that the Microsoft deal might have hinged on this Activision deal going through. But then I realized I don't think that makes sense for them to be brokering a huge multi-billion-dollar deal with Embracer Group while they're just trying to acquire another studio in the biggest acquisition of human history. That one didn't track for me. So it's either Amazon or Ubisoft. Now, Amazon has the Amazon Game Studios, fledgling, failing, not doing great, could maybe use some sort of injection. I don't know what that would look like, but that's where I come to Ubisoft being the most likely party, not only because of the weird, scummy last-minute pull out of the deal move that seems likely of a studio that's run by like a bunch of like sexual
of
deviants.
guys who would like the pull-out method.
A bunch of guys.
They would like to pull out.
Guys.
They pull out last minute. That's
That's Ubisoft.
That's
Who
their
runs
strategy.
Ubisoft? A bunch of guys. You know, guys. You know, guys that grab each other's balls from behind in the gym locker room. Those kind of guys. Guys, you know?
They do have French names too, which I think doesn't help. At least from my perspective.
So, I think it's Ubisoft. I think they had some sort of deal. It tracks for me with the pullback we've seen from Ubisoft on anything that's not called Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Seems like they've not been really pushing out a lot, and that a deal like this with Embracer's kind of juice and money and licenses might have been a kick in the pants for Ubisoft they could have used. But then they were like, we don't have the money for this shit.
Yeah. They're like, when there's feast and famine, right? Ubisoft probably 2 years ago was in feast mode. They just pumping out games. And right now they're in a little bit of a famine. They haven't put anything crazy good out all year in the last 12 months at least. And they're feeling it. We talked about this last week. They're a huge company, tons of expenses and costs. They need to be pumping out games that people are buying and playing, and they haven't for a little bit. So
so I think
makes sense.
On that timeline, what you're talking about, like 2 years ago, Ubisoft's hurting, and at the same time, Embracer's just just up and to the right, buying everything and everyone. And so the deal starts getting hashed out.
They're off in Europe chatting each other up.
Yeah.
Things are going great.
A little tug and rub, and then shit starts to go south for both of them.
Yeah.
And okay, so now
I'm glad Fidelity didn't let me buy. This is a little bit of a mea culpa, because 2 weeks ago, I think we were talking trash about how my Fidelity account would not let me buy Embracer stock because it's a little too volatile. They don't, quote unquote, know enough about them. And we're like, just let me spend my money. And I still feel that way.
Bitch.
They did, however, save me quite a bit of money because Embracer stock dropped 40%.
Just halved. It just fucking went from one number to a half of that.
Can I be honest though? Now I want to buy it even more.
I
want to buy it so bad right now. I want to buy it even harder.
Even harder than I wanted to buy you before.
I'm gonna have to open up a different brokerage account just so I can buy it. That's how hard I want to buy this.
I need a brokerage account that deals in kroner, because that's how you have to fucking pay for this shit. Sony casually unveiled a new handheld that should be out this November, and we're like, what?
Wait, what?
Huh?
We weren't even like guessing about
No
this.
one even asked for this.
That's
And
true.
nobody even wants this. The funny part. I texted my buddy Jeff, who is usually into Sony. He's the biggest, by far the biggest Sony Vita fanboy I've ever met. And I was like, dude, what do you think about this? He's like, I hate it. This thing has an 8-inch screen. It looks like they just cut a PS5 controller in half and went and just put a screen in the middle of it. And
that is exactly what it looks like.
Here's the problem, though. This is where I like, that sounds good, dude. That sounds fucking sexy as hell. I want a Switch that plays PlayStation 5 games, and it has the comfort of a PS5 controller. That sounds great. But streaming only. Like, that's all I need to hear.
That's the mistake.
That's so weird. Streaming only. So you have to own the game and have it installed on your PlayStation 5. And something that was really weird to me is this is all we know. What I've just told you is literally all we know. Anything else that we tell you is speculation from this point forward. And that includes whether or not you can actually stream this outside of your house.
Yeah,
They didn't say that. Why wouldn't they say that? Why would they not fucking say that unless you cannot stream it outside your house and they know that's not going to be received well?
Well, because this all, I mean, based on the small bit we know, it seems like an accessory to your PlayStation 5 rather than like the Steam Deck is like, hey, I can play my Steam games wherever, right? This doesn't feel like that. It feels like if you are to be able to play it outside, you have to be on the same VPN as your PlayStation 5, and your PlayStation has to be on at all times. Don't shut that off. Don't even put it in low power mode. Got to keep that bad boy running.
Instantly DC you.
I don't understand.
If that's the pitch, what you just laid out, this is a live in your house device. It literally exists so you're playing Last of Us and you're like, I have to keep killing these zombies even if I'm gonna go take a shit.
I have to go to the bathroom
so
bad.
This thing up, you transfer your zombie killing and you're like, okay, cool. Now I can defecate easier. That is the only use case for this. So if that's the fucking case, what is your price point? What is your acceptable price point?
Max $200.
Yep. Max 200. If you want to fucking sell this thing, $150. We are talking about a $150 device, or it is DOA, dead on arrival. This thing cannot happen. This cannot survive unless it comes out, and it is just fucking undercutting literally every other handheld right now, which are all at like $400. But if you come out and you're like, hey, this is a streaming only, and you can't get any games on it by default, because, dude, even if you get the Steam Deck and you're like, that's it, that's every dollar I own, how many fucking games can you play now on the Steam Deck that you have access to? Likewise with the PlayStation, I don't know how many free you maybe play fucking Fortnite on it. And that's it. If this thing costs that much money, though, like you can't even play that unless you already have it on your PS5. Dude, this is such a wild thing to me.
Mm-hmm. It's a weird play too. Like they have had in the past success with a handheld, right? They have had a good handheld device.
They didn't though. They didn't have success with it. People loved it. It was awesome. It played well. It worked well.
It looked great.
It just didn't catch. And there are people that swear by the it's like the handheld Dreamcast, basically.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like ahead of its time in so many ways.
But now there's so much competition, and they're jumping back in now.
So much.
This seems like
we talked about the ROG. There's the ROG Ally. There is the Steam Deck. There's the Switch, obviously. And its other iteration, the handheld only iteration, plus the new Switch that's going to come out like next year, whatever the fuck. And then you're releasing this thing.
This is the Wii U.
$600 VR headset. And like, how much money do you Sony think we fucking have in America? Minimum wage is still $7.25, guys. Hasn't changed since I was in junior high, and I'm old as shit. But yeah, keep coming out with like more handhelds that cost $500. Yeah,
more hardware,
slapping leather for those.
It doesn't feel like the hardware game is the big play, but Sony really is into it. I guess I don't know.
It's ridiculous because this should be a slam dunk for them with their skill with the controller. They should have been able to come out with a handheld that had more, some sort of tactile feedback, some sort of 6-axis sense technology that made it even more useful. Maybe this has that. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass. They haven't fucking told us. But like I said, none of that really, really matters if it's supposed to serve exclusively as a streaming device and you're just essentially, from a hardware perspective, phoning it in. Because you're like, now we're not going to need to make it like actually run anything properly natively, so it can just be kind of shitty.
I don't know. I obviously haven't crunched the numbers. I'm not a corporate accountant. But what it kind of feels like it would be easier money and more profitable because this seems like very risky, right? To make this hardware, make competitive hardware,
Don't ask for,
and
you're
it's
not
just
marketing it.
it's just PlayStation, right? Doesn't it seem like a better deal to just reach out to Steam Deck, Valve, and ROG and be like, how would you like to get PlayStation games on your device? Just add a PlayStation, whatever app or whatever, and just pay us to do that. PlayStation does nothing. They just sell it. Doesn't that seem easier?
So much money to be made if people would just listen to this fucking podcast more.
They just listen to it's easy money too. You don't even have to
We're
hire.
not charging you for this at
to do
all. This is
anything.
free advice. You don't even have to join. This isn't even Patreon only content. You just get this.
This is just for free. It's right out there. It's out there for everybody.
But no, dude, you got to have this weird hardware piece. You're right. Sony is stuck in the hardware wars mindset.
They love it.
Ugh.
This always brings us up.
Yeah,
We
it's
went
like
from
kudos.
we went from to dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Riblets are these little riblets, are these little chunks of news, hand pressed around a bone and microwave just for your delightful eating pleasure. First up, Steam's latest dating sim lets you try to fuck Joe Biden. Yeah, this
is what the Republicans have been talking about all along.
They were trying to warn us, dude. We did not listen, and now look what we've got. Love
been
Joe Biden, the Joe Biden
FJB
dating simulator
forever, and I didn't know it was literal. I didn't know it was literal. I guess it is.
Dude, go woke. Get Joe Biden dating sim. That's the thing that we're looking at here. For $4, you could climb into this. You could climb into bed with one of three things, because this is set in an old, and I say things deliberately, in an old age home that has two residents, one of whom is Biden, the other two members of staff, one of whom is a giant furry wolf, and the other one is an anime woman with her bra showing.
Who's the audience for this? It was like some drunk buddies came up with this idea one night, and it was one of their friends, their idiot friend got stuck on it, and he's like, I'm actually going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make this game. I'm going to make the furry anime Joe Biden sim.
There's no denying that out there is a significant section of conservatives that like have a hate boner for AOC. So they're like way into her because she's an attractive woman. They just like, it just drives them nuts. So you got to think that's a wide audience, right? Because that's like the like hetero male kind of audience.
Okay.
But there is a smaller audience out there that likes old fucking saggy dudes, old white dudes.
Or let me posit this. They have a hate boner for AOC, and in their brain at some point, Democrat makes them horny because they think of AOC.
It's a Pavlovian response.
It has,
and the number one Democrat's going to give you a raging hard mega super bone.
They're so mad, right?
Yeah.
It's an angry boner. They're so mad about it, and they're so mad about Joe Biden. Angry Democrat, Biden. I have the weirdest boner right now, and they got to play this game. It's the only way to get it out.
Excited for this.
I
It's
think we
called
figured it out.
Love Joe Biden, the Joe Biden dating simulator. Next up, the entire staff of a Michigan GameStop quit on the launch day for the latest Zelda game to protest working conditions
This
at that
makes
particular
me happy.
store.
Honestly, this makes me
Dude,
happy.
can you imagine how much money you're out your store if that franchise owner is down for that one day, for that launch day, and every single one of your pre-orders, every single one of those guaranteed sales just goes somewhere else. They just taped a sign on the door and then just closed the shutters. So funny.
Dude, so great.
I'll read this. Unfortunately, due to poor working conditions, the staff of the Brighton GameStop have decided to resign effective immediately. Management overworks, underpays, and underappreciates its frontline workers, sets realistic expectations, and constantly threatens termination for any employee that cannot exceed them. To all our loyal guests, we're terribly sorry for this inconvenience. We appreciate every one of you and your continued business, but I literally cannot pay my rent. And then if you have any questions, comments, complaints, please forward them to Regional Manager Tim Keeley and District Manager James Moreland, and then their emails are listed below. Pretty funny.
What is another term for this? I feel like there's a term for this that exists out there. Oh, yes, this is essentially a worker strike.
Is it like
one shop went on strike? That's what happened.
But I don't think they're coming back.
Can you imagine if 200 of these shops went on strike? GameStop's stock would have dropped significantly.
Say it louder for the people in the back, Peterson. Can you imagine?
I'm just saying, because I'm like, yes, this is so great.
No workers making billionaires rich.
You want to stick it to them? Quit on a day when there's a major release.
Yeah, that's so fucking funny. That's gonna get him. Next up, Lego is apparently releasing a working Pac-Man arcade set. It's out. If you want to get your hands on this thing, I believe it starts selling on June 4th or June 1st. If you're a Lego VIP, it's $269 for 2,600 pieces, which in Lego terms is not that bad. It's not like a ton of pieces.
No, but I mean, for what this is,
it's not a few.
That seems pretty good. That seems on par. If you would have had me guess how much this would, I would have guessed between 250 and 300 probably. So
yeah. So I think it looks fucking dope, and it works. Like you can open the back and like, yeah. It's not like you can actually play Pac-Man, but it's like the pieces move.
It's very Lego though. Like the stuff moves.
So
yeah,
cool.
all the stuff moves. But then you open up the back, and there's a little tiny Lego person playing a tiny version of this game as well. I mean, it's classic Lego. It's so very good. Very fun.
And then finally, the 4060 Ti is apparently worse than the 3060 Ti from 3 years ago. This is NVIDIA's latest, greatest graphic cards, the 40 series, which we've mocked already on this podcast for just being really expensive with a almost imperceptible improvement for people that actually want these cards. So they basically just rolled these out as an attempt to course correct the market that they themselves fucked up by chasing crypto trends. And they're like, okay, well, let's try to get the price back to a place where our main consumers are happy, and we'll deliver this cool card at the same time. And it turns out this cool card is worse than the cards you guys used to make. And they're trying to just like, and apparently, I don't know that much, but I do know that this 4060 Ti with only 8 gigs of RAM, by default, you can get an extra 8 gigs for another $100, which puts this thing in the price range of like, why am I buying this level of card anymore? But apparently that 8 gigs of RAM makes this card just off the jump like fucking useless. I don't know why. I don't really understand the
you know why? Because it's too big to fit in your case. Yeah, that's why. It's gonna be like laying next to your computer case.
You just hold it with one hand. We're going back to like the day of like suitcase computers. They just keep getting bigger and bigger now.
Yes, are we? Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, yeah, pretty soon you're gonna need like half a room. Be like, dude,
just to play Doom.
10,080 card. It's so sick. It is the size of my dinner table. That's the only
funny
thing.
you mentioned that because apparently the 1080 Ti, this card that was big when like we started doing this
Yeah.
podcast like 6-7 years ago, that is still like a solid ass card. And
Not
they
a bad card.
they really haven't made like major massive improvements over that one. And so if you're still rocking that one, it's just so frustrating that they're just it's just like a very apparent attempt just to trick people into buying what is a lesser product. They are actively degrading their own product and charging more for it. Like it's a fucking washing machine or something.
Honestly, you should just stock up on like 2080s. It'll last you the next 20 years because
Yeah, those are going to be just like washing machines built before like 2005 are way better than the fucking new ones.
yeah.
Except for this is supposed to be like a really high-end piece of technology. Yeah, Jeff's on our chat. He says he's got a 970. Peterson rocked a 970 for
So
way
long.
too long, but that kept him going too. So I don't know, man. I don't know what they're thinking with this. Let's roll kudos.
Kudos. Kudos. Kudos.
Kudos.
Kudos.
Kudos, our positivity segment. I'd like to give a shout out to things we're into. Peterson, what is 1883?
Dude, the year.
Is
Is
this a liqueur?
no,
Or just like the year? You just love that
dude,
fucking
what a
year.
honestly, just been reading about history a little bit. 1883 was the year. No,
It was
this
just
is
banger.
a TV show, JD. This is one of the prequels to Yellowstone. I talked about Yellowstone, the TV
You
show.
and Costner, dude.
I
you can't get enough of the
He's
cause.
not in this one, JD. This takes
But it gives so much context to his character in the other one.
200 years before. It kind of does. So what actually, so let me tell you, this is it's called 1883. It is the first prequel because there's another prequel that's like 1920 something or 19. There's another prequel which has Harrison Ford in it. 1883 though, it's just one season. And wow, I just finished it. I blasted through it. I was telling JD I was up till 6 a.m. last night because I accidentally took a 2-hour nap when I put my daughter down, fell asleep, woke up at 1, 2-hour power nap, couldn't go back to sleep till 6. So what I do, I finished 1883. It's so good. So let me tell you about this. It starts with actually the main character, and I have to give a double kudos to Tim McGraw. He is the main character, and his wife is
the country singer?
the country singer. And his wife in the show is real life wife Faith Hill. So Tim McGraw and Faith Hill. And I am not kidding.
Tim McGraw, Faith Hill.
I'm not kidding. They did a bang up job acting these parts. I didn't even know it was them until I read something else and I was like, wait, that's Tim McGraw and Faith Hill. And like once you see it, you're like, oh yeah. But honestly, absolutely fantastic. I did not know they had acting chops, but they nailed it. I mean, there were emotional scenes where they're crying and like tears. I mean, they honestly did fantastic. It was weird to see. I guess some people just have it all, right? And I guess Tim McGraw and Faith Hill can sing and act. It was crazy how good it was. But this takes place. It starts off in Fort Worth, Texas. They're from Louisiana. They go to Fort Worth, Texas, and they're making their way to Oregon. So essentially doing the Oregon Trail. They meet up in Fort Worth. So it's just Tim McGraw and his family, which is him and his wife, a daughter who's about 18, and then a 5-year-old son. And they were going to go, but they meet up with a group of immigrants from Europe. So kind of couple different countries in Europe. There's German and Slavic people. And only like a couple of them speak English, but they're going to make the trek too. But they don't have any skills. They don't know how to ride horses. They don't know how to do any of the stuff that they need to do. They don't even own guns, right? And the other actor who's always good, Sam Elliott. Sam Elliott is the other like wizened cowboy who they hire to bring them across the plains. And so, of course, these two parties meet up. They're like, hey, we'll work together. And they go through, and it's just all of their hardships. And this show does not skimp on the hardships. Lots of people die. It's only one season, but this is the story of essentially how in the show Yellowstone, how the Dutton family, because Tim McGraw plays a Dutton, and how the Dutton family ends up in Montana, because they're heading to Oregon, but they end up in Montana. Very, very good. It's cleaner than Yellowstone. So Yellowstone had like decent amount of nudity. It had all the stuff. This one has all of the stuff minus the nudity. So there's not a lot of swearing, but
So
there
you
is
don't get
swearing.
to see Faith Hill's ass or Tim McGraw's ass for that matter.
I don't think so. I would like to see
out.
Tim McGraw.
I'm out.
But no, honestly, very, very good. Surprisingly good. It ends well. So it's like I said, it's like 10 episodes, something like that. And it's quick. It starts and it ends. There's no sequel to this, right? There's no 1883 season 2. It ends. It's over. And they moved on to 1920, whatever. So good. Anyways, guys, I'm into the Yellowstone stuff. I'm a cowboy. I'm having a hard time not talking like a cowboy right now.
Do it. Dude, just lean into it.
Don't
mind me, no mind.
Been watching 1883. And I'll tell you, I recommend this show. I recommend any of y'all watch this show. If you want a good time,
I reckon you'll like this.
You're gonna like it. So watch it. Watch Yellowstone. Watch 1883. Of course, the next one. I'm watching the next one. I gotta look up. Called 1923. 1923.
Pretty lazy naming, but
it is kind of lazy naming. I'm with you on that. Harrison Ford's in it. Helen Mirren's in it.
His movie about a world covered in water world. So bar started low and it's staying down.
Just kept it there. Anyway, that's it. That's my kudos. I loved it so much. So what do you got?
I just have a quick one for something that everyone else has probably already seen at this point. But if you haven't, and you're like, should I watch Breaking Bad? You know, everyone's telling me it's good. I've heard only good things because everyone loves it. The answer is yeah, you should probably watch it.
It's not a joke that it is legitimately one of the best TV shows that's ever existed. It's so good.
Weird. It's just good. It's just kind of a weird topic. Yeah, I think I'd watched it once and then, just random episodes, rewatched them here and there, but I'd never done a full rewatch before. And as a full rewatch, if you've never done that, I'd recommend it. Knowing how it ends, knowing who all the characters are and where they end up, it definitely makes.
I had forgotten a lot of how they get to a lot of the places, so it was still felt fresh when I did, and I didn't rewatch all of it. I watched probably a season and a half, and there was still a lot that I was like, man, I forgot all about this. So yeah, it's worth a rewatch.
Yeah, and there is a couple seasons you could just watch if you wanted to. You could watch kind of in a vacuum, and they would be fine. So yeah, Breaking Bad. If you haven't seen it, check it out. If you've been holding off on it, and if you've been considering, like, is that something I want to rewatch? Is there even worth it? Because I know how it ends. You might like it. It might be worth it.
And if you're like, oh no, I don't want to root for meth, just get over it. Okay, you're gonna end up rooting for meth at some point. I don't know why.
I mean, come on, quit being so naive.
It was like when I was watching Yellowstone and I was like, those Native Americans better not get this land back. And you're like, that feels wrong.
How can you
in the
root for meth?
Yeah. If meth is bad, but when you're watching Breaking Bad, you want Walter White to sell so much meth. I don't know,
man, our whole country with the biggest military known to man fought a war. An entire war on drugs and lost. Meth kicked our ass in this war. How can you not root for these guys? They're kind of like the plucky little underdog that took on the giant and just embarrassed him relentlessly.
And in this show, it's like a cute color. Like, dude,
it's got its own little thing, kind of like Blue's Clues. It's fun. It's fun.
I just one last thing, like they kind of tap into this where you're really rooting for the protagonist to be successful. It doesn't matter what they're doing. That's what, if you ever watched Entourage, several times while watching. I was like, why do I like this show? But that's when you're rooting for them to be successful. Same with Breaking Bad. You're rooting for the
Depends
protagonist
on if
to
it's
be
your first
successful.
watch or second watch, how much
Makes a
rooting
difference.
is actually happening.
Yes.
All right,
that's
let's
true.
do this next thing.
Okay. I don't think I have this one on the board. That's weird.
You don't have it?
I mean, I have it. I don't have it on this.
Okay.
So we'll just
Okay.
start it.
JD asks, is this segment where I ask something? This week on JD Asks, I'm asking you, what beloved game of yours would you like to receive a spiritual successor? I don't even know what you would call
That has
this
improved
thing.
upon it. It is a whatever the game like. So
Yeah, what that's a good one. What game would you like to see become its own genre?
so that's
That's
I
how we
guess
would describe this.
frame the question on why we thought of this, why you thought of this.
Yeah, so one game you guys have heard, if you listen to this podcast, that I played a game maybe a year ago called Dome Keeper. Super, super fun. It is a side-scrolling perspective game, and it just really hooked me. It's just really fun. So about a month ago, another game came out that is very much in the same vein as
It's the
this.
same game, just
Turned
slightly
sideways.
different.
Yeah, it's just slightly different. And it's made a lot of improvements to the point that it made me be like, damn, what other games would I like to see receive this treatment? If you think about a lot of the early games, the earliest video games, there was a lot of borrowing. There was a lot of like, oh, I can't believe they're doing that. I want to do that next. But in this instance, we're kind of talking about where it's like the entire game itself, stock, lock, and barrel, is essentially being ripped off, just like Fortnite. Fortnite's Battle Royale mode.
Yep.
I don't think they were the originator of that as much as PUBG was. And
Yeah,
potentially
PUBG made
other
it
games.
popular. Remember, there was that lawsuit. Fortnite
Yeah.
came out with their Battle Royale, and it's the same engine, and they were like, you guys can't do that. And they're like, why not? Same thing. So
Yep.
there's Dome Keeper, and then Wall World came out, and Wall World is better Dome Keeper. It's better in every way. It's the same thing. I would say Vampire Survivors came out,
Oh, there you
super
go.
great, super popular. And then that has spawned several others that are just like it. We played Brotato, and I liked Brotato more. I loved Vampire Survivors. I liked Brotato more. So what game do you want them to make a better version of?
So the first one that came to mind for me is this game that it's so specialized. I remember thinking, and we talked about this when I played it for the podcast, I believe, for Dice of Destiny, Return of the Obra Dinn.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a specialized game that I remember we said something along the lines of like, I was like, I just want to play another game like this. And it's just not going to happen. You just know this game is never going to have another game like it made. Kind of like Untitled Goose Game. When you play it, you're like, oh, so this is like it. Like you're because it feels like if anyone were to ever make a game that felt like this, it would 100% be a ripoff, because the game is so wholly unique that it would be hard to do a new one of. So for Return of the Obra Dinn, if you guys aren't familiar with it, you should look it up on YouTube and just go fucking play it. But a lot of it feels like a kind of a point and click, semi-animated adventure. Like you move through a sort of frozen world with this... it's a compass that can stop time or travel you to a specific instance of time, and you like investigate it. Like you would in a point and click adventure game. You fill out your little journal and you try to solve the mystery. So it's a point and click mystery essentially, but the art style and the way that it's just designed and
it's made with exclusively dots. And I'm not saying pixels, it's dots.
You gotta, that's the thing, is you gotta just Google it to see what I'm talking about. And you'll know instantly after watching 15 seconds of a video of this game. You're like, yeah, any game that came out that looked like this you'd be like, what the fuck? That's just Oberdin. They just ripped off Oberdin. And I'm like, good, do it. The guy who made it is a genius, certifiable, made it solo with his wife. So not
Lucas
solo,
Pope.
but yeah, it's just
Honestly,
that's
he
what I
should
want.
just make another one, same art style,
Do it again.
maybe same concept, just different setting. Like honestly,
I'd play the shit out of it, and
a-
it would be better.
anyone who played Oberdin would do that as well. They would buy
Yeah.
it and play it. That's what we should do.
Yeah, I like that. How about you?
So I've got one. I've got a couple low hanging fruit ones. This one, my first one is obviously Slay the Spire.
We got those though. I almost
Nope.
did that, but I feel like Monster Train and every other
but
game
they're
that came
not
out.
better. That's the thing.
Oh,
Slay the
you don't think
Spire
any of
is the best
have gotten
one.
close.
I've played a dozen of these, JD. None of them, and people largely agree with me online. There is nothing as
That's an
good as
interesting
Slay
point.
the Spire. There's
Yeah.
tons of good ones out there that are pretty good, but none of them fill that gap. None
Because
of them
that
fill
was
that
the
need.
question. We wanted it to be one that was better, that
Mhm.
advances the genre, as it were.
And
you're
it's
saying Slay
possible.
the Spire was first and best. Can't
And
beat
that
it.
and that's the thing. I feel like it's absolutely possible, but it does take a special mind to do it because balancing card games is not as easy as you'd think it would be. It's very difficult. Even professional card game makers have a hard time doing this. They have a hard time balancing their cards, and that's the problem with all the other ones. That Slay the Spire has found a great balance in what they're doing. And like I said, there's been several others. None of them have sucked me in like Slay the Spire has. And I've played a lot of them. Monster Train's probably number 2 for me. That's probably the number 2. But even that has a point where it is like, ugh, like, come on. Like I can't, this is like it lost me. Every time I've gone back to it, it loses me after an hour and a half, probably, because I hit the same walls. Whereas Slay the Spire, I don't know. I don't know what the big difference is, but no one has captured that magic. And a lot of people, a lot of reviews on these games are like, this is great. It's like Slay the Spire, not as good, but it's like Slay the Spire. That's what I see constantly on these games.
That made me think of what I think would be probably, even if he didn't think of it, would be Trent's answer to this, would be World of Warcraft. Because how long have we been playing games with Trent, and he's been talking about, oh, there's this new MMO coming out. I want to try it. And Trent plays a ton of all the new MMOs, and he loves them. And maybe correct me on this and tell me the latest Final Fantasy, was it 14? Is that the MMO?
Something like that.
Yeah, he said that. I think that one kind of finally hit for him, and he's really liking it. But in my time knowing Trent, he started playing World of Warcraft back in like 2004, 2005, like pre-beta stages, and he has been ever since then hunting for something better, playing it. He still plays it, still has the subscription, and he cannot find something. And that's how everyone who plays WoW is. 8 million subs, and every one of them is like, God, I wish WildStar had taken off.
And honestly, the problem is that WoW is too big now. You would have to spend 15 years making a WoW a real WoW contender, because every MMO that comes out, they come out and they're pretty good, but then you get to endgame and you're like, okay, there's nothing to do now, right?
Yep.
Whereas you don't have that problem with WoW because it's been going for 30 years or whatever.
So this one is well, how about another one? I really like, oh yeah, Phil never stopped playing EverQuest. They're definitely Phil, that's how Phil is about EverQuest then. Just can't find a better one.
Playing EverQuest right now.
I love that. Another one for me is Carrion.
Oh,
the reverse horror game where you play as a kind of mass of like flesh and guts and whatever you kill people and just suck up all their biomatter and turn it into your monster. And it is a 2D side-scrolling kind of survival type game. And that game was based on basically a GIF that was kind of a mock-up. And then the guy went to work on it for like 4 or 5 years and produced it, and the game's awesome. It's like 5 hours long, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And we have not seen anything remotely along those lines.
I think
2D reverse horror.
There's been a couple others where you feel like you're playing as, like, do you remember that?
I want to be a movie monster.
Do you remember that gorilla one where you're that
Oh,
gorilla
yeah.
that's escaping the lab?
Yes.
It's a similar concept, but I think what really makes Carry On special was it felt different. And part of that is the controls. You will not find a game that
So
is as
smooth.
satisfying and smooth
Oh,
to move around and kill stuff. And like, it just felt right, which is dumb because you're like murdering just so many people, but you're like, this is what I was made to do. This is what this creature exists to do. And it felt so good. I only played it briefly, but that is the only thing I remember is how good it felt to just move around. Like, it just was so seamless.
yeah.
So there's been a few others, I think, but I think you're right. Carry On is kind of the best version of this. They should just make it Carry On 2. Just make a sequel.
Looks like there's one called Lakeview Cabin, which is like a retro pixel art style, and you play as a killer in like a 70s, 80s style slasher. Lakeview Cabin. I might check that out.
But
That
that doesn't feel like it would be better than Carry On. Does that make sense?
Yep, you're right. You're fucking right.
It
There's
seems
no
fun,
dude, I can't
it
even.
doesn't seem better.
Now that I say that, now that you say that, I can't even think how you would make a game better than Carry On. How you would make it, and I'd be like, wow, this. I mean, sure,
You're
it'd be
playing as a
longer.
monster or a bad guy that feels that good. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
You're right. Oh, that one's kind of ripe for it. I think Carry On's probably my best answer. It's pretty ripe for that. How about you? What else you got?
I have a couple like really, again, low hanging fruit.
Yeah, what else?
I won't even spend much time talking about this. Into the Breach. Obviously, there's been tons of clones of this, and it is just nothing has ever scratched that itch. Similarly, I think someone will eventually. It's kind of like FTL, same type of thing. I think people have tried to scratch that same itch, and they kind of get there, but it's not quite. I don't know what the magic that company has, but they have just made a couple very special games that honestly we're a decade in and no one's been able to replicate them, type of thing. But no, RimWorld. This is the one. I feel like there are so many versions of this game, and it's the same thing as Slay the Spire. Everybody is comparing these games to RimWorld.
Yeah.
And they're saying this one's like RimWorld.
I hear
This
RimWorld
aspect of it is
much
like
with
RimWorld,
the games that I look at,
but none of them ever quite hit the mark. And it makes me think that we just need like a RimWorld 2 where they take the same concepts, same everything, and just expand on it a little more, add a couple cool things that people have been dying for. But that's the one. That one is, I feel like everyone's trying to replicate it. We've got so many of these colony sim types of games, and honestly, RimWorld's the bar. I've played a dozen of them. Honestly, I've played so many trying to capture that same thing, and RimWorld's the bar. Hasn't been beaten yet. I do think it can be beaten, but it's not there yet. Someone needs to beat it.
I think it's kind of cool about this segment that we're doing is it seems to me that all these games we're talking about are games that were really big, and they stand up on their own, and they've created a foundation that the next game, if you can really blow that game out of the water, it can be so much bigger. Like we talked about with PUBG and Fortnite. PUBG was awesome. It was huge. Every gamer was playing it and into it. And then Fortnite builds off of that, makes it better, and every single person on the planet now plays it. So one other one that I thought would be good would be Valheim. Obviously, the game came out about halfway baked. It's about halfway done, and massively popular. Everyone is playing it. I really was surprised that we haven't seen a huge boom of those since that. It's been what 2-3 years since
I
Valheim.
think what's interesting is Valheim was not even close to the originator of this concept.
No, it was Minecraft.
Minecraft has been doing this forever,
Uh-huh.
and there's been a ton of others since then. And again, you're right. A lot of great games. Raft came out. They do a good job. Subnautica does
And
this.
Raph is those two were before Valheim,
Right.
well before. So it's like,
But nobody has. Valheim came out, and there was just something special about it.
when is the last survival craft we got though? Like that's just the thing is, I keep a real close eye out for these things, and we haven't gotten anything in this.
Most of them. I mean, they're always being released, and they all look bad. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They're never big. They're always small. It's a hard genre to get right, similar to like Slay the Spire. It's a hard genre to get right and balance the progression of it. Because and that's what Valheim did well is they, you have to start if you run outside of the main first two biomes, you're gonna die if you're not ready for it. But a lot of them don't get that progression correct.
In those biomes, it's so peaceful, and that's another thing that I think a lot of them miss. A lot of these games miss is that there was a relaxing element of Valheim where you didn't have to do things, and it was chill. And I just can't believe no other game has come along and just yoinked that.
Yeah, we played a lot of Grounded, and Grounded was pretty fun and is in its own right, but it didn't have that ever, and it also the building on it felt pointless. It didn't feel good. Valheim does a good job in the building, and they're getting better in some of the changes like they've made.
B pluses or A's across the board for like everything. But there's so many of these that they have like a hard C or like a D minus for a category. And you're like, well, that's not going to beat Valheim. And then another one that's kind of in the same vein for me personally is Planet Crafter. I think Planet Crafter is phenomenal. I will say it's
good.
Made by a teeny tiny husband-wife duo in France. And I could absolutely see some semi-larger studio, even just 20-person indie studio, building off of this and creating something just insane with it.
I think, again, Planet Crafter, what they do right, because, again, there's not like we've never seen games like this, but what they do right is I think that peaceful aspect of it is huge. Right, there's nothing trying to kill you besides the environment itself.
Yeah, the lack of oxygen.
So you're just doing your thing and making visible changes in the environment, which is so satisfying, right?
Yeah. So take that, make it an entire planet, add in a story. Planet Crafter has a story. Add in like a fleshed out lore and a story. Add in things like you can build a rocket and take off and fly to other parts of the planet to start terraforming over there. And right there, with just those couple additions, you've got me. You've scratched whatever I need to make this version of Planet Crafter the better version, the wall world version of Planet Crafter. That's the only one that I can actually see how you would make it better.
I have one where I think there's a clear path to make it better.
What would it be?
This one's a little bit different. So Fallout 4 was a good game, right? It was fun. There was a unique aspect to it that they hadn't added to any other Fallout games, and that was the building. All of a sudden in Fallout 4, you could build a town.
Cool.
And it was awesome. It felt cool to be able to build in the wasteland, but also it felt pointless. Like, what am I building for? There was no like real point to it, right? You could build turrets that would shoot stuff, and even then it was like
the raids were stupid as fuck. The raids were so dumb.
Honestly, that if they need to make another Fallout game and just just do that. They've made what was that other game that was like Fallout or the space one that felt similar? I can never think of the name.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about. Why can't I think? I can never think of the name. Anyway, but
there were two games that had similar names. It was like Waylanders or some shit.
So I I want another RPG like this though, with building. Add building into it, but make the building have a point besides just something to do for funsies, not Mass Effect. Something to do for funsies. I
Outer
want
Worlds.
Outer Worlds. That's the one. Outer Worlds. Add some building to one of these games where you're for real's going to get raided, right? Where
Yeah.
something is going to happen and you're going to try to stop it with your town. But I also want the main RPG like Fallout. I want Fallout with building with a purpose.
It's too bad, dude, because I think Fallout 5 will definitely drop the building because I don't think it was like you said, it was pointless. And so it'll be like, do we improve the AI?
It was a
of
little
the
janky, too.
raids? Yeah, the building was janky, and I don't think it was super satisfying. I think it was a fun little mini thing. For me, the cardinal sin was making the build table. So how I would do it is I'd say forget what you're saying. I'd say forget that. The easier way to make Fallout 5 100 times better than Fallout 4 by default, extend the build table. Because if you remember in Fallout 4, you could only build in your little tiny encampments, which was, I'm sure, a programming choice because then they could restrict how many bugs you could make in the entire game map to a very small, narrow area. If you were to make the entire game buildable, you would have to design it like that from the start, just like with Valheim, where you can build anything anywhere out of anything.
And I think it'd be easy to kill the world.
Well, you would have to build
they do a lot of world creating.
Yeah, like a different type of game.
What they should do is just kind of what they did before, have building areas, but just have that be a huge section out in the outlands or something. You can go out the wastelands and just pick a spot and build. You know what I mean?
Because that was what was fun, is finding in a few of the areas, where you were like, oh, I can build all the way up on this like overpass. I didn't realize I could build up here. So finding new places to build was a joy, and that's what it is with Valheim, is looking around and finding a cool place to build.
A cool spot to build. But yeah, make a Fallout, but make a building. Fine. I'm okay with the building and not being like the main point of the game, but just give it a purpose. Because I loved Fallout 4 and I had fun with the building. I built like a big power armor museum and all my collectibles, because you remember how I collect so much stuff.
You say so much stuff, but just admit it. Tell them what you were collecting, Peterson. Quit.
Well, one of the things I collected
sugarcoating
it.
One of.
Oh, I
Peterson exclusively collected so many bones and piled them in the cellar of his game world that it would break when he went down there trying to load how many bones it had in the cellar.
Look, don't be jealous of Bone
McDuck's
Cellar.
Vault.
I wanted to Scrooge McDuck and Bones.
Yeah. Just
like a Buffalo Bill. I think that's it. I put Hades on here, and then I put Nevermind because they are making a Hades 2, and I do think it's going to be better because that is one of my favorite games ever. And so, yeah, I do think that one is going to be better. I think they're going to make it. They're going to improve on that. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of my list, and it's kind of the low-hanging fruit of all of those. The games to beat, the games that whose bar has been set and no one has beaten it yet. I think they will be beaten, but I think it's going to be very hard.
Except for Return of the Obra Dinn. No one can touch that one.
How do you beat the bar of FTL, though? I'm being 100% honest. How do you beat that bar?
I put that on there. I was going to put that on there, but it's pointless. They have made multiple FTL clones. They've made, and I would argue
I've played a bunch of them, too. And
that's
they're all...
why I didn't put it on there, is because I would argue that multiverse is probably what everyone's asking for. I'm just too lazy to download it. So we don't really have a bumper for this or anything, but my sister and dad, they are the ones that pitched this to me. We're doing a kids corner, little kids corner segment for the podcast, a little time to hear from the younger gamers, the younger generation of gamers out there, because we're old as shit.
Yeah,
so
guys,
we're gonna go talk to
40.
Kids. We're gonna do a man on the street interview, but it's not on the street because you can't go up to small children on the street and just start asking them questions.
I tried, and I got in trouble. So
Did you try bringing a puppy or some candy? I find that helps.
The
So
puppies find me.
puppy's coming to Peterson. All right, so you want to just spin this? Let's just spin it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And to our video viewers, sorry, it's not edited yet.
Guys, I can't edit. In
Now you
real
have a
time.
reason to listen to the podcast.
Jeez, just chill. So uppity.
Dice of destiny.
Dice of Destiny, the game of yore, upon which we throw the bones of luck.
Wow.
I don't know.
Dude, the
Long
luck
story
bone.
short.
Yeah, we
Love
take a
bone.
luck bone in our hand,
Mhm.
shake it, and see what happens.
And we're like, what does the luck bone have for us? Last week, Trent threw the luck bones, and he rolled his fate, which is that he has to find a funny game for $20 or less. And hopefully he sent us in a clip about talking about what that game is, and we're just going to listen to that right now. Can you believe that's what Trent picked? I mean,
Oh, that does sound funny.
Wowee. Made me laugh.
Sounds like a hoot.
Yeah, I'm laughing right now. I'm slapping my knee and reaching for a water glass because I'm just having a good chortle over here. All right. Well, Trent will have a review for that game. Whoa, that game next week. You guys probably have a lot of laughs to play us out. For our outro music, we've got The Engine Room from Space Station Silicon Valley.
I don't even know what this
N64 deep
is.
cut.
This sounds like a very deep cut.
Extraordinary deep cut. Space Station Silicon Valley.
But to be honest, this song is great. I'm listening to it right now. Fantastic song. This really fits the tone of the episode.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. The plot of this game, or the gameplay loop, was it was like a puzzle game where you were essentially like a microchip and you just like possessed different robot animals to solve puzzles.
Makes sense.
To try to keep this spaceship from the space station from crashing into the Earth. I don't know. It was fun. It was quirky. It was weird. I liked it. I didn't have an N64, so I probably only played it like twice in my life. Just stuck with me. All right. I'm JD. Logging off.
This is Peterson going AFK. All right. See you later, Phil.
See you, Phil. See you, Snorgle. Thanks for jumping on.